Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Renegade Roundtable podcast here. I am Jeffrey Kirby. As you can see, Jared is not with us here tonight, but instead, it is the host of the Renegade Roundtable NFL Draft Super Show, none other than Hunter Osborne. Hunter, how the hell are you?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Jared is not here with us tonight because he is currently at an Orlando Magic game getting ready to watch, ironically, the Cleveland Cavaliers. For those that don't know, me and Hunter are both Cavs fans. And, yeah, I know that the Cavs are not playing any of their starters, but guess what? You could still hold this L.
Hold it. Yes, sir.
You'll still hold this L. Obviously, we do have some stuff we need to get into. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about baseball. We're talking a lot more baseball than we have in the past, but Hunter's a big baseball guy, so he knows more baseball than I do. So we're obviously going to talk some baseball, talk some more about the Pirates and Brian Reynolds. And it seems like one team in the AFC North is just, all hell is breaking loose. And we're going to obviously talk some more about the draft, and we're going to get into Todd McShay's 2.0 or 3.0 mock draft, whatever 0.0 it is. We're going to take a look at his most recent mock draft that he posted earlier this week. We'll see who the Steelers are going to be taking at 17, talk about different scenarios. Obviously, you guys have been hearing me and Jared talk about the draft. Now you'll get to hear from a different perspective from me and Hunter as well, which is something that we off air a whole lot.
A whole lot. Absolutely.
It feels like it's every third day thing where we're just we're either texting or FaceTiming about the draft. So
yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that here. I do want to get into some of the baseball stuff because I know for you and I, be honest here, we're both Guardians fans. Obviously,
Right.
Got to talk about the Pirates here with Brian Reynolds, but I want your perspective just from an overall fan perspective. What is your overall thoughts with the first week of Major League Baseball? What have been your thoughts on the new rule changes with the pitch clock, the new, the shift and all that?
Yeah, I think so far, I think it's been a success. I think the pitch clock obviously is the biggest one. And I think it's been great for the game of baseball. The average game time has been sped up by about an hour. Everything moves by a lot faster in general. So I love it. I really do. I think it's great. But one thing I have, learned, and I think one thing that we knew that was going to come with it is, pitchers having to adjust, hitters having to adjust, more so pitchers. I think we've seen guys that, usually dominate games haven't been so effective this year. I know Jacob deGrom got roughed up in his first start. I know Corbin Burns got roughed up in his first two starts. I know Emmanuel Clase has kind of looked a little off. James Karinchak as well, Guardians fans. So,
oh boy.
So yeah, I think for the pitch clock, I think for players, I think it's going to take some time getting used to, which is fine. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. But for the fans, I think it's a great thing. So yeah, I think the pitch clock has been great. The shift, I love the banning of the shift.
Although they're kind of doing that whole thing with the outfield stuff too.
Yeah, and I guess you can do that, but I mean, I don't like it. Baseball, I get the shift from a strategic point. I really do. And I like it from a strategic point. But at the same time, baseball should be played with a third baseman, a shortstop, second, first, and, keep it the whole way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think, it kind of just, I don't know. All the rules so far for me have been fine. I've enjoyed the first week of baseball. My team's 5-2 right now, so not much to complain about there. But baseball in general this year has been fun to watch so far. So if this first week is like the rest of the season, or if the rest of the season's like this first week, then I think it'll be a very fun year.
Yeah, and the one thing that you said too, the whole thing about baseball in terms of the positioning of things, where I agree with you 100%. I the whole shift thing, and I agree that the strategic part of it you totally get. You hate it when, say, for example, someone like a Jose Ramirez, for example, is a guy, you know that there's going to be a shift on him, or if there's a guy that's, always is going to pull, and he's a lefty, he's going to pull things. Obviously, you're going to have to shift. You hate it when it's the other team that's doing it, but you love it when your team does it. It's just one of those things. But yeah, at the end of the day, I like it because one thing too is it adds a lot more action to the game. It adds a lot more, adding more singles, and then that has a better shot of with, base stealing. I know that's one thing too, is especially where you could only throw at a base twice. If you don't get it a third time, that's a balk. That's an advanced base. So you're going to get a lot more action. You're going to get a lot more of that being very strategic on when you throw over, and then you're going to see a lot more base stealing. You're going to see a lot more action, singles, doubles. I know I know chicks dig the long ball, but maybe it's just because we were accustomed to that last year. But I love teams who play that fundamentally sound baseball, get on base, and then you have great base running, because I forget who it was, but there were some teams last year saying that those kind of teams are so annoying to play. And when you are one of those teams that is doing that, having that kind of play style, it's so fun to watch from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, and especially being a Guardians fan, we, like you said, we've seen it up close, very personal, and it's fun. You love it. Especially in the playoffs last year, teams get sick of us really quickly. So, I think when you look at it from our perspective, you love it, and, it leads to more opportunities. I think I like it just for the simple fact, like you said, you're going to see more singles and more, base stealing. I kind of think when the shift got implemented, it was more we were heading towards, all right, everything's going to be a home run or an extra base hit. Now guys, we're going to see an increase in stolen bases. We were going to see it anyways with, like you said, the only throwing over 3 times. We were going to see it with the
bigger
increased
bases.
size, bigger bases. And, it's been fun so far. So, and also, the Guardians have the league leader in stolen bases right now. So, there you go, Miles Straw. So,
well, I know one thing too, and I want to get into this as well, and the reason why it's perfect for you being a Guardians fan, it's perfect for you to be able to come on and talk about this particular topic, and I bring it in Brian Reynolds, because obviously both very small market teams. And the reason why it's ironic is because when I listen to Pittsburgh radio, it's almost a guarantee that if Brian Reynolds is getting brought up, the Cleveland Guardians are getting brought up. I promise. It's insane, but it makes sense. It makes sense because they're both very small market teams. Now, one team has been in the poops of baseball for a while, trying to rebuild and get to that level, and then you have another team who has just been a absolute steady organization, but both with very similar payrolls in terms of they're not spending a whole lot of money. However, the Guardians did just spend, within the last 3 years, they gave Jose Ramirez, what was it, 7 for 1 something?
Yeah, I think it was 5 for 125.
Okay, 5 for 125. Class A got he got 5 for 100, right?
No, Class A only got 5 for 20.
I swear he got 5 for. I thought he got a lot.
No, we signed him like right before he blew up.
I swore he got a bigger contract than that, but regardless, it's okay because you still before the season just signed Andres Jimenez 7 years, $100-something million. So you have two. So and then you bring in the Pirates situation, and whether you should re-sign Brian Reynolds. Now here's the thing when it comes to Brian Reynolds is he has been on a tear so far with the Pirates. Team leader in batting average, home runs, RBIs, hits. .417 batting average to start, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 10 base hits already. So, you want to talk about being off to a rocking hot start and wanting to prove a point. That is where you do it. However, I will stick to my guns. I am not. He's 28 years old. I do not believe you give him a. I would give him at most a 5-year contract. Now I know that's not what he wants. He wants a longer term. I would believe probably a longer term contract, but I would feel comfortable giving him a 5, maybe a 6-year deal, because I don't want to be paying him. If you try to give him a 7-8 year deal, I don't know how I feel about that, because now you're going to be paying, how much of that contract is he going to be playing at a high level? That's where I'm now. It's a whole different story when you start talking about like O'Neal Cruz, who is a guy that he is very young, but you know that he has promised to be one of the best players in baseball. Right. So if you want to talk about now, didn't Ronald Acuna get signed real early?
Yeah, that's the Atlanta Braves method right there. All their star players or top prospects all get signed right before, they make that jump, and it's a risky move, but I mean it's pretty much paid off for Atlanta in every single way so far. I mean they look like geniuses right now, but again, that's a risk you're going to have to be willing to take. I mean, we've seen deals in similar years. We saw it with Julio Rodriguez last year. We saw it with Fernando Tatis after his first full season, signing that really big contract with San Diego. I mean, it's kind of the move that teams are making now. I think Corbin Carroll, the number one prospect in baseball, well, not anymore that he's up with Arizona, but I think they just signed him a couple weeks ago to like an 8-year, $110 million deal. Mm-hmm. And he's barely played half a year. So these teams, before these guys can leave in 5 years and, go get maybe a $250 million contract, or if they're in that tier with Tatis or Acuna or bigger and go get, $300-400 million, they sign them to these contracts, these long contracts that are worth, $110 million, where they're getting $10 to $15 million a year. Of course they're going to take it, because these guys aren't proven yet. Right. It's what if they turn out to not be so good and they're still getting paid $10 to $15 million a year. I think that was one of the things that obviously I think the Dodgers, a lot of people look back on. The Dodgers went the opposite way. They didn't make a deal with Cody Bellinger, and Cody Bellinger probably at the time when he won his MVP, and with the way he was going, he probably could have signed a deal about $300 million. And that would have been one of the worst contracts in MLB history. As he's not even on the Dodgers anymore. He's with the Cubs, and he's struggled mightily the last couple of years. So you see both sides of the risks. I mean, it's worked out for teams like Atlanta. It's worked out for the Guardians with Class A.
And by the way, you are right. I was wrong. It was 5 for 20. I don't know why I thought it was a lot bigger of a deal.
Yeah, closers usually don't get that big of a deal, depending on who you are. Class A probably could now, but at that time when we signed him, he was still kind of unproven.
And plus, you were coming off that whole suspension thing too. So.
Right. And, so like I said, I mean, there's two sides to all of it. I think the Pirates are kind of in shit now with Brian Reynolds. To me, Brian Reynolds is one of the most underrated players in baseball. Brian Reynolds is awesome. I love Brian Reynolds. He's actually a guy that I've seen on Twitter that I would love the Guardians to chalk up some prospects for and, go and get, because I think Brian Reynolds is a stud. I think he would be a great piece for this team. But I think the Pirates are in such a tough spot now because, like you said, the Pirates don't pay anyone. They're in a similar situation as the Guardians. Now, the Guardians have been paying people, but I think the Pirates, I think they need to trade Reynolds. Obviously, they're not going to meet his demands, so I don't know, what they're waiting for.
But the Pirates are 29th in payroll.
Yeah, and I don't think. Honestly, if I was the Pittsburgh Pirates, I would try to work on a long-term deal right now with O'Neal Cruz. At least try to get him to stick around for a while. The thing is though, the difference between teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cleveland Guardians, teams like that at the bottom of their payroll, even the Baltimore Orioles. The things about the difference is that the Cleveland Guardians can draft well, they develop well. Same with the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles are on fire right now with prospects. Doesn't seem to be the case for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates, they're just not, in terms of developing players, are just not on that level. And when you're a team that has a really low payroll like that, that's all pretty much all you have is the ability to develop players. Because you can't sign guys. I think the most you can do is develop guys or trade for rentals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know as a Guardians fan, even in our prime World Series years, 2016, 2017, um, I mean, we were in positions, sure, we had great players like, Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, Edwin Encarnacion, Carlos Santana, all those guys. But the thing is you got to complete with some rental players. Going out in 2017, getting Jay Bruce, that was a big deal for us. Getting Austin Jackson in 2017, Mike Napoli in 2016 was a huge signing. So as much as it is about getting your younger players locked up, the veterans too. I mean it's a big thing. I mean, some of these veterans out here, that you think are washed or might not produce at a level that you think they can anymore. They can still be as beneficial to a team as anybody else. So when you're a team like Pittsburgh that doesn't want to spend money, you're going to have to take some risks. With prospects, trying to lock them up and just praying that they work out. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, if you look at a guy like, let's say Garrett Cole, for example. You look at Garrett Cole, say they would have done the Atlanta Braves route with Garrett Cole. He comes up and they sign him to an 8-year, $100 million deal. Okay, Garrett Cole is still a Pittsburgh Pirate right now, probably. Close, maybe not. I don't know the exact years, but I mean, he's right there. And even when his contract is about to be up and say, he's going to get $300 million in free agency, you can still trade him and get a lot for him.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when they traded Garrett Cole to Houston, I believe, and Garrett Cole just blossomed in Houston into one of the best pitchers in the league. So, I mean, it's a situation that Pittsburgh has faced before with losing players. And, I think it's just hard trying to find an equal balance of, okay, where are we at as a team? Do we trade him this offseason? Do we trade him at the trade deadline? What's the value of him going to be at this part or at this time? I mean, there's a bunch of factors that go into it, and it's really hard to, make the right call. But I mean, hey, that's the risk of being a general manager or being in the front office. You're trusted to make those decisions. And, obviously the Pittsburgh Pirates haven't been so successful in their decision making for about the last decade almost.
Right. And you look at just for an example, the Chris Archer trade. You acquire Chris Archer for Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, and Shane Baz.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, and that's so funny about that trade because Glasnow is a stud now. Glasnow is a stud with Tampa Bay. Okay, Baz was a solid reliever on the World Series team, starter reliever on the World Series team. And then Austin Meadows. Austin Meadows is in Detroit now, but Austin Meadows also played a big part on that World Series team, and was a big part of Tampa Bay for the last couple of years. That actually is probably one of the more lopsided trades I've ever seen.
Yeah. And like you said, when it comes to development, if you're not one of those teams that is going to pay, have that high payroll where like the Yankees, it's like, they'll just go and buy whoever they want. They just will be able to throw out however much money you want. The Pirates are in that situation. So I feel like if you really made a priority in focusing on the development, because at the end of the day, like, I apologize for keep bringing up the Guardians, but there's such a great situation because if you're the Pirates, let's be honest here, the Guardians are who you wish you could be because they don't spend a whole lot of money. Well, yes, now that they are spending $89 million constantly developing pitchers. They're a pitching factory.
Yeah,
You go
pitching
from,
machine.
I mean, Corey Kluber, Mike Clevenger. Now you're a Shane Bieber. But then it's like, who's coming up at that point? Now you have Tristan McKenzie.
If you just look at pitchers that the Guardians have produced in the last 8-9 years, I mean, you get Corey Kluber, Cy Young winner.
2-time Cy Young Award winner.
Shane Bieber, Cy Young winner. Trevor Bauer, Cy Young winner. Mike Clevenger, solid pitcher for the Guardians. Which, I mean, we did get a haul for him.
Yes.
In that trade, which
is it, and that's the thing. If you can continue to develop players, if you don't want to give out these huge contracts, development is huge.
Right.
Because like you just said, you trade away a Mike Clevenger and he was one of your better pitchers. At one point in time, he was probably one of the better pitchers in baseball at one point of time, but you trade him away. What does that get you? That gets you, what was it? Josh Naylor,
Gabriel Arias, Owen Miller, Joey Cantillo. I think Joey Cantillo is still in the minors. I don't think he's really, but I mean, still, just getting Josh Naylor and Gabriel Arias for Clevenger with where Clevenger's at right now is a steal. And there was someone else in that. Austin Hedges too.
and now who's in Pittsburgh, ironically.
Yeah. And, and going back to the pitchers thing, I mean, I listed off those 4 guys, and 3 of them are Cy Young winners. I mean, that's not even including Carlos Carrasco, who was a very, very good starter here for years. Like I said, Tristan McKenzie. I mean, let's be honest here. Zach Plesac and Aaron Savali, for a little while there, looked very good. I thought Zach Plesac was going to be very good. Josh Tomlin went from being Josh Tomlin to playing a vital role. He arguably was our best pitcher in the 2016 postseason. So again, like you said, developing pitching is nothing to us. We're a pitching factory. The amount of pitchers we've had is insane. So like you said, when you're able to develop talent like that, it makes it that much easier to trade players away.
Because you can just replenish.
Yeah, I think the only trade that I really think we've lost was the Trevor Bauer trade. Just because
we got Bauer, what was it, Yasiel Puig and
Franmil Reyes. And that ended up not working out so well, which is fine. Bauer also didn't work out so well. So he's over in Japan. It's like that's my favorite meme is on Twitter, where Shaq, they're on Inside the NBA on TNT, and it's like, what team does he play for? And he pulls out the Guangdong Tigers and goes, "Ni hao." And so that's what I get from Trevor Bauer right now. But I mean, all of those other guys, I mean, it's so sad though, because it was like I was watching opening day. I was watching the Baltimore Orioles and Boston Red Sox, and Corey Kluber was the Boston Red Sox opening day starter, and just got shelled. I mean, his fastball is sitting at like 87, 88 miles an hour now. I mean, he's really dropped. And it sucks because we're so used to seeing Corey Kluber, who would just dominate. 10+
strikeouts like it was
nothing, And I think, as Guardians fans, and I think too, when you look at our pitching staff, obviously our starting rotation outside of Bieber and McKenzie and Quantrill at times can be up in the air. But you look at like how spoiled we were. I mean, Jeff, there was one year where we were trotting out Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Mike Clevenger, Carlos Carrasco, and called up Shane Bieber.
By the way, real quick too, we were talking about the Mike Clevenger trade. Cal Quantrill was in that trade too.
Cal Quantrill was in that. Yep.
So look at that right there. That's what I'm saying. If you were the Pirates, focus so much on developing talent and developing pitching. You do that. If you get one of those guys, like say for an example, you go back to like the whole, just name off a random pitcher. He ends up becoming a stud. You could go and make one of those trades to where it's like, okay, you could trade him off, and now you could continue to add and replenish pieces, because now from one pitcher you were able to get now a starting pitcher, your starting first baseman / DH, and then you had a catcher where I was like, okay, he was good defensively at the plate. He swung a pool noodle for a bat, and I'm sorry, that's how it is with and that's how it's going to end up being in Pittsburgh for Austin Hedges, and but you just get continue to do that. I mean, the Corey Kluber trade, you were able to get arguably one of the best closers in baseball.
That was an incredible trade.
Like, you go around Major League Baseball, you can get these kind of trades, but it's a matter of, you want to be a consistent team in baseball, development. Simple as that. And I know this goes all the way back to the whole Brian Reynolds thing, because, listen, if you, see what you can get for Brian Reynolds, because I'm with Hunter here. I would be more willing to trade him unless he's going to be willing to sign maybe a 4 to 5 year deal. I know for a fact he's not going to want to take that. So you trade him away, get what you can, and then see if you could get you would probably get at least maybe one major league ready player, or one that's very close.
Yeah, probably at least one that's very close.
So you get one of those guys. Now that adds into the young core. Now that you add into the young guys with Brian Hayes, O'Neal Cruz, and then you add, say, whoever that might be, you add him into the lineup. So that's where things need to really ramp up for the Pirates. If you want to be a steady, good franchise in Major League Baseball and turn things around, that's what you would have to do.
Yeah, and again, it's not easy. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I think the Cleveland Guardians have just been blessed with a great staff, top to bottom, of how to develop players. The front office is very good. I mean, we've seen teams in hell for a while now. The Baltimore Orioles are one that comes to mind. The Pittsburgh Pirates are another team that goes to mind. I don't even want to look at the Oakland A's right now.
At this point, they're just tanking to go to Vegas.
I think the biggest prime example, and I don't understand how fans of this team just don't end it, is the Washington Nationals. I mean, it was just 4 years ago that they were trotting out, Juan Soto, Trey Turner,
Anthony Rendon,
Bryce Harper.
Well, no, Bryce Harper wasn't a part.
Bryce Harper wasn't on that team, but Bryce Harper was in that era. Those guys, like Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Trey Turner, Anthony Rendon, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg. I mean, and then let's see, Trey Turner traded, Max Scherzer traded, Bryce Harper leaves in free agency, Juan Soto traded, Anthony Rendon leaves in free agency. Now, the Rendon one hasn't hurt them because Rendon has been
not that
awful.
Good for, yeah.
And, Juan Soto hasn't hurt them yet so far, but Juan Soto is an awesome player. It will at some point. Bryce Harper has been unbelievable in Philly. Everyone can use a Max Scherzer. Trey Turner's been awesome too. So that's the thing about these small market teams. I know you and I as Guardians fan, I know you're a Guardians and a Pirates fan bandwagon. But, I know we've seen it up close and personal with Francisco Lindor leaving. And that was brutal. I love Francisco. I have his Mets jersey in my closet right now.
Bandwagon. You call me a bandwagon.
Hey, I'm a player, not a team. So I think when you really look at it, and obviously if you look at that Lindor trade in hindsight now, I'll be honest with you, if I today, say, okay, would you trade Francisco Lindor for Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario? Yeah, I'm doing it. I am. But at the same time, it's kind of fun to think, say we don't do that trade. Okay. Now, we look now, because Lindor has been kind of underwhelming his first couple years as a Met.
And on top of that, remember, they had also gotten Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Lindor had been kind of underwhelming. I have the Cavs game on right in front of me, and it's so funny that they're all sitting on the bench in their street clothes. Like Garland just has a shirt and shorts on. Levert has a jacket. Mobley's got a nice. It's just so funny. Like our whole bench is just filled with guys in street clothes. Sorry to get off topic, but going back to it, Lindor's been underwhelming his first couple years as a Met. Like I said, he had a solid year last year, but not the Francisco Lindor we knew in Cleveland. But in hindsight, you ask yourself so many questions like, if we wouldn't have traded Lindor and say we would have tried to pay him, and we say he would have accepted it and he'd be here another 10 years, does he perform like he is in New York right now? Or does he continue his reign of terror that he was on in Cleveland? Because I'll tell you what, if he was playing like he was playing for the Mets these last couple of years in Cleveland, I bet Cleveland fans are like, well, I wish we would have traded him and not paid him. Because Andres Gimenez has been awesome. I mean, God, he's been anything you could ask for last year. Gold Glover, batted over 300 last year. Ahmed Rosario, Ahmed Rosario can get on my nerves sometimes, but as much as that, Ahmed Rosario is a good hitter. So yeah, it's those kind of things like that. I mean, baseball's just so much more different than, basketball or football when it comes to these contracts and, how many years you have a player, and it sucks to see a guy go. Lindor is a prime example. I don't know if I've, really ever, but, I've talked to my dad about it too. And my dad was like, I think the big one for him was Manny Ramirez leaving and going to Boston. Because I think the Indians had a deal with Manny, and he ended up going, leaving for Boston. And we saw how that worked. I mean, Manny Ramirez is one of the steroids or not, Manny Ramirez is one of the best baseball players of all time. Jim Thome can be put in that category as well.
Who I've met, by the way.
I knew that was coming. David Njoku falls in that category as well. I played Xbox with him.
I'm not another one of our friends of ours.
Yeah. Well, okay. But yeah, baseball is such a hard thing, especially for stars. I think for me, it's so hard for me because it's like I love players that like the NBA. So like not to switch, to leagues, but let's go to the NBA. I mean, every year it just seems like stars are moving all over the place in the NBA. And don't get me wrong, it's fun because it's like you live in a fantasy world. You get to see different players together every year. You're like, okay, like it's like a fantasy draft every year.
Like Kyrie going to Dallas.
Kyrie, Harden, and KD teaming up, or KD going here, or Chris Paul going all over the place, or Donovan Mitchell coming here, or LeBron and AD teaming up. You know what I mean? So it's like it's things like that. And as a fan, you love it because you and I, especially as diehard sports fans, you love across your screen saying break or Adrian Wojnarowski breaking. James Harden has been traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and we get to obsess over it and go crazy about it, for time. But in the end, it's like you're like, oh, like here we go again with this shit, like people are, I just sometimes I wish that players would stick. I kind of compare it
like
to the
Damian Lillard, for an example, with Portland.
Damian Lillard, Giannis, Steph Curry are all great examples of this. But if I had a super team and was carried by Kevin Durant, then I would also be content in Golden State if I was Steph Curry. So I know a certain one of our friends is not going to like me saying that. So that's exactly why I did. But I like to compare that to the one and done rule in college basketball. Because, you see these big powerhouse programs like Duke, North Carolina, UConn, Kansas, and it's like they get these 5-star recruits, they play together, and then next year it's like, oh, they're gone. Here comes a whole new team, and that's why, like, growing up.
And also, you look at it with college football too, with NIL, where it's like, how many times?
Portal?
I mean, JT Daniels, for an example, how many times has he transferred? He went from, he's been to 5,000 schools, and you see that, like with NIL and college football, where it's like basically every player has a 1-year deal, and then they're just basically free agents if they want to stay or go.
Yeah, that's the thing though, and you look at like college basketball, like in the early 2010s, and here's the thing: is back growing up, I was a diehard college basketball fan. I loved college basketball. Ohio State was making it to at least the Sweet 16, Elite Eight every year. The one year they went to the Final Four. I like them Aaron Craft years, Jared Sullinger, Deshaun Thomas, like those guys. Those guys were around for 2 or 3 years. And, I actually had this conversation with my dad the other night. During that era, it's like, you get to learn the players, and it's not like they're there for 1 year. Like one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time, maybe my favorite Buckeye of all time, is D'Angelo Russell.
I knew that was coming.
And D'Angelo Russell was only here for a year, so you don't get to really learn about these guys. Like back then, they were there for 2 or 3 years. And, I remember the year we lost in the Final Four, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm like, that's okay, because we'll be back next year. Most of our returning cast, we ended up losing in the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 next year, I believe. But, I mean, we run it back with most of the same players. That's like when Indiana had Victor Oladipo, and Victor Oladipo was awesome. Michigan had Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway, Karis LeVert at one point. And these guys, you get to know them for a couple years. So it's like, okay, it's awesome. But, now it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's so much movement, everything. And as fans, like going back to my original point, as fans, we love to see the movement just because it gives us news and it gives us things to talk about. But in reality, it's like, is it really as fun to us as we think? Because it's like, it's a different thing every year. It's like, okay, these players are together, like it's just, I don't know. It just seems like nobody's loyal anymore. And of course, now here's the thing. I understand people want to get paid. I understand players want to get paid, especially football players. I understand it. You guys play arguably the most violent sport in the world, besides hockey, because you just have blades on your feet and you're running around on ice. Can't do that. But, you guys want to get paid. Teams don't want to pay you. Understand that. You want to get paid. And I think you and I both, going back to your original statement coming into the show, there's a certain team in the AFC North that's going through that right now.
When we get done with our roller coaster of a conversation here, which, by the way, this is what you get with me and Hunter. This is literally how it is with me and Hunter every single time we talk sports. It is a roller coaster ride of a conversation.
Well, hey, you know what, Jeff? We might as well get into it now. So let's talk about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so
because this is fun.
So as you said, yes, we'll lead into this. I can see he's clearly trying to practice his hosting of a show. We could clearly see this is where he's trying to practice here. For an NFL draft show, April 27th, 7:45 p.m. here on YouTube and on Facebook. So Lamar Jackson. So there was a press conference that happened yesterday, I want to say, and it was about the draft. And there was a reporter who asked a question in terms of trying to ask a draft question about the quarterback, but mentions the name Lamar Jackson. And what happens? Well, we'll just play it for you here.
In respect to this being about the draft and everything, just with the Lamar stuff that's going on.
Hey guys,
are you all looking at quarterbacks
differently? Alex, if you can, this is about the draft. Just move off the Lamar. We're not going to answer more questions.
About the draft. Are you looking at quarterbacks differently because of the situations going on?
Yeah, I don't think we really are. I mean, we.
So,
I love how the PR person is like trying to get him to move off the question, and Eric DeCosta is just like, yeah, we are, like, answers the question.
Like, here's my thing. So, like, hold on, time out. Here's my issue with that. Number one, this was the same team that was talking about how Lamar is 200% going to be their quarterback, and they were going to find a way to get it done. Clearly, that's not going to be the case. Regardless of what happens, no matter what setting you are of a press conference, you know damn well no one gives a damn about what they're going to do with the draft unless it's going to involve Lamar Jackson, or are they going to be looking at a quarterback? Because let's be honest, Lamar Jackson is one of the most polarizing players in the NFL. Right. And with this whole situation that's been going on, and now I'm in the club of I kind of have to agree with the Ravens. I wouldn't want to give him all that kind of guaranteed money for a quarterback who has not finished the last 2 years. And yes, I understand he's still an MVP. I understand that. I get it. But this isn't 4 seasons ago. This is 2023. He has not finished the last 2 seasons. I know Hunter, he's a Browns fan, but I know he's a big Lamar Jackson fan. There's a lot of people who are big Lamar Jackson fans, but we have to be honest with ourselves. Would you want to give him the kind of money that he's asking for fully guaranteed? I sure as hell wouldn't.
Okay, let's start an argument then, because I'm going to be honest with you, I would.
Here we go. Because I'm like, this is a different story where if this is Joe Burrow we're talking about, totally different ball game. Because we know that I trust his throwing ability. I trust his playmaking ability. He has been proven that he's made it to a big game. He's made it to the Super Bowl. He has been one of the elite quarterbacks now. I understand at one point in time Lamar was one of the elite, he won an MVP for God freaking sakes. But that was also, again, 4 seasons ago.
Let me chime in here real quick. Just about Lamar Jackson. I still think Lamar Jackson he's obviously an elite runner. We know that. I think he's a damn near elite passer as well. I think Lamar Jackson is an amazing passer. And to be honest with you, I think his passing still goes underrated. I think Lamar Jackson is a good passer. Now, here's the thing. And going back, it's kind of funny that you brought up Joe Burrow, for example, because I've seen the Joe Burrow argument made too. Like, we want to pay a guy like Joe Burrow, not Lamar Jackson, because, there's teams saying, well, Lamar's style of play, won't hold up.
And that's the other thing too, is with this, if you're going to be willing to trade, if you're going to, like, if you're another team and you're going to try to sign him and trade those two first round picks, are you going to be willing to change your offense around? Because you're going to have to change your offense around a lot.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing though. If you're a team like, obviously this isn't going to happen, but say you're a team like Washington, or you're a team, I'm trying to think, like Indianapolis even, teams that have teams that have struggled for years now. I didn't include Atlanta because Matt Ryan was good for a little stretch there. But teams like Indianapolis who have struggled to find a consistent quarterback since Andrew Luck. Teams like Washington who haven't had a good quarterback since Kirk Cousins was decent there.
He was good for the draft, for where he was drafted at and the whole story because
right. But here's the thing. You look at these teams that have had, not as, no success at the quarterback at drafting them. Yes, you do trade for Lamar Jackson and build your offense, change your offense around him. I think that's a risk you have to take, especially when you have a track record that has proven to not be successful. I mean, here's the thing, and I get it. I think, the owners are, kind of colluding a little bit to, not giving Lamar what he wants because of the whole Jimmy Haslam, Deshaun Watson contract given out.
Which I will be on the record, and I am saying this, and I will be consistent when I say this. I don't blame the Browns for giving Deshaun Watson that contract. You look at that situation. I'm being serious. I'm not saying that he's going to be good, but I don't.
Praising the Browns.
I don't blame the Browns for doing it because you look at the whole. Once you went down to Texas to go visit with him, Baker Mayfield was done.
Let me ask you a question. I want you to be brutally honest with me, okay?
Okay.
You have 2 choices. Choice A. You ride out, and this, don't even say for Washington, just for any team in general. Your options are you ride out this year with Jacoby Brissett, and I love Jacoby Brissett to death, and you know that. Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell. Maybe you see what Sam Howell has, play your cards maybe for the upcoming draft. Maybe be bad enough to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, because next year's quarterback class is supposed to be very
even
good.
though I do think that, like, I know he's in that, but like Washington, for example, their defense is good enough to where, like, I don't think they would be in that situation.
Right, exactly. And then that was going to be my next point. So do you, option A, do you Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell, or do you look at it and you're like, let's go get Lamar Jackson and pay him? So honestly, if you're in this spot, are you riding with Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell, or are you going out and getting Lamar Jackson and paying him?
I mean, I think it would more have depend. Like Washington would have to completely revamp their system, their offensive system, and I'm just not sure. Like, see, Atlanta would be the team that I would be more intrigued about because they're already one of those teams that runs heavy to begin with. You kind of saw that last year with Marcus Mariota, and then with Desmond Ridder. That would have been the team that he fits the best with. Okay. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Now, if we're talking maybe 3 for 1, like 140, 150, okay, maybe. But 5 for 200 or something, fully guaranteed, or most of that, I'm not sure about that.
Now, let me counter with this real quick when we're talking about systems. Okay. I don't necessarily agree with the narrative that we have to, when you trade for Lamar Jackson, you have to just switch your system around. I don't like that because, yes, I understand Lamar Jackson is an elite runner. He loves to run the ball. You get, your read options, your design QB power plays, your run plays. But again, I think it's a very underrated aspect of Lamar Jackson's game is his passing still, and I don't understand why. And here's the thing. Has Lamar Jackson won a big game? He's won one playoff game. I understand that. But I'll be honest with you, for as much as as we say with Lamar Jackson about how much Baltimore system revolves around him, which it has, it absolutely has. Let's talk about the skill players put around Lamar Jackson and his time in Baltimore. Mark Andrews, unbelievable.
One of the top tight ends in the NFL.
Absolutely. Mark Andrews is, honestly, he's probably my number 3 tight end in the NFL. Okay.
Behind Travis Kelce and Pat Freiermuth. Got it.
No, behind David Njoku and Harrison Bryant. And Jordan Akins now. So he's 4th. So now when you look at it, I think, it's Lamar Jackson's this would be Lamar Jackson's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 30. So this would be his 6th year in Baltimore. Isn't it crazy? He's been in the league for 6 years now. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. But, who can we honestly say his best wide receiver has been in his 6 years in Baltimore? Are we going to say Marquise Hollywood Brown?
Probably.
Marquise Hollywood Brown is not a number 1 receiver. Marquise Hollywood Brown is a solid number 2 receiver. Besides Marquise Brown, who has Lamar Jackson's best wide receiver been in Baltimore?
I would have to think about that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, listen, I could completely get you on, and like the whole not like last year. If you guys will, there was our little live reaction with that whole Hollywood Brown trade that happened. We're like,
I'm not even gonna lie to you, Jeff. I go back and rewatch that sometimes.
I do too. I rewatch that whole show.
And the AJ Brown trade being broke.
Listen, go back and rewatch our draft show last year. That was a banger. And baseball this year, it was very timed, very efficient.
Do you think we get any trades like we did last year?
Like players?
Yeah, like AJ Brown or like a Hollywood Brown. I mean, nobody really saw the Hollywood Brown one coming.
Yeah, that one was weird.
AJ Brown, we knew AJ Brown kind of won it out, but obviously like not on draft night. I mean, we might. I mean, you never know.
Ooh, I would have to think of I would kind of have to like look around and like figure out maybe who, like an interesting like trade. You know what would be the most interesting trade that could possibly happen is if the Patriots were to somehow trade Mac Jones on trade night.
That would be nuts.
That would be one of the most Bill Belichick things ever.
I wonder if Lamar ends up in New England.
They really liked. You go back to that draft. They had a private workout with him. There was a whole. You go back and rewatch that 2018 draft because you could go and rewatch it on YouTube. In fact, I'll probably rewatch that draft tonight for the 85th time. There was a lot of talk. All
right, so let's question. You and I right now, if we were both betting man, gun to our head. There's a gun to both of our heads right now, which wouldn't happen to me because I'm like John Wick. But
okay, here we go.
Gun to both of our heads. The gunman goes, "What team is Lamar Jackson playing for next year?" And you only survive if you get the right answer. What team are you picking?
No one. I say he
Really?
sits out. I think he sits out. If you want me to be completely honest, I think he sits out. I don't think that he is a guy that I don't want to say stubborn, but he is very firm on what he wants.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And as much as I don't know how smart it would be for him, I just got a feeling he's going to be very firm on that. Unless there's a team that gets like an injury that happened, and God forbid, I hope this doesn't happen to any team. But if there was a team that were to somehow like get their starting quarterback injured, and then they're like, you know what, and they kind of feel like they want to make a desperate move, okay, you do that. But now that's a risky move because you're gonna have to pay him a whole lot of money, and you're gonna have to give up two first round picks. Right. But my gut is going to tell me he is sitting out in 2023.
Do you think so what was it for Deshaun Watson? It was just 3 first-round picks?
3 firsts and a couple other picks.
3. I think it was a third. I can't remember exactly, but I know like the highlight obviously was 3 firsts. You don't think Lamar Jackson gets 3 firsts?
Well, no. Remember, if he signs,
the transition.
Yeah, if he signs, it's 2 first round picks. If he signs an offer sheet with another team, and Baltimore does not match.
That's fair. Okay.
And that's the thing too with this whole situation is no team wants to. I don't think basically want to do the work that Baltimore's been doing for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it's like they go and they finally get something they like, and then Baltimore's like, oh, yep, we'll match. Here we go. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So it's like it's either you do the work for Baltimore, or you could get your guy, give up 2 first round picks, and then whatever the contract ends up being.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I think if a gun was put to my head and I had to guess, I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I hate to say it, I think the sitting out route might be the one. So let's say if he does sit out when he comes back, what team do you think maybe pulls the trigger on him? I have a team, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if they do it, but
Minnesota.
No, but I would love to see him in Minnesota.
I don't. You said interesting, and that's the first team that popped up in my head because Kirk Cousins is his final year.
I hate to interrupt, but we're getting like a prime Danny Green game right now. Like this dude is hitting threes like there's no tomorrow, and I'm loving it. But can you guess the team?
Is it an obvious team? So I'm assuming it's going to be not like Washington or Atlanta.
No.
So it's not Minnesota.
Not an obvious team, but a team. If you really think about it.
Not Houston, not Indy, because they're going to get their guy. I don't know why I have this feeling. It's not Vegas.
It's not Vegas, no.
It's not San Fran. Although, imagine, is that who it is?
It's the San Francisco 49ers.
You know what? That would be an offense of hell.
Because here's the thing. When you look at it, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, it looks like Brock Purdy's going to have the one up to go into next year. I don't think Brock Purdy's the long-term answer there.
No.
I think
It was a good story, but
if you can get your hands on Lamar Jackson, can you imagine an offense where you have one of the more solid offensive lines in the NFL? You have Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. That might be the best offense in football. With the defense that they have, adding Javon Hargrave. Jeff, if they were to go out and get Lamar Jackson tomorrow, they are my overwhelming favorites to go to win the Super Bowl next year. Them in Kansas City.
So we would get a Super Bowl, like, what was it, 50-something, 4 rematch.
Yeah.
53 or 54 rematch.
In a game there, San Francisco should have won that Super Bowl as well.
It don't matter because I had KC win that, and I had a bet on that.
I
game
did too.
and won.
I did too. I wanted KC to win that. I like Patrick Mahomes. I like the Chiefs.
Bandwagon.
Oh, I can go get my Mahomes jersey out of my closet right now and wear it.
Yeah, that's not surprising. You might as well go and get your. Might as well go and get whatever other jersey. Go and get your Joel Embiid Philadelphia 76ers jersey out.
I don't have an Embiid jersey.
Well, that's a shocker. But you know what isn't a shocker? You know what could be a shock? Is let's figure out what Todd McShay has going in his latest mock draft. All right, let's take a look here at Todd McShay's mock draft, whatever .0 it is. Now, me and him have had a debate on this, and we're having a debate on whether we think that Hendon Hooker has a shot to be drafted over Will Levis. Hunter says there's not a chance in hell. I say there is a shot. The two teams that I think are that would be the most vital to this is Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Minnesota, I got this gut feeling that they want a quarterback. They've been, from what I've been seeing, seems like they're kind of like they've had meeting. I believe they had a meeting with him, or it seemed like there was a lot of talks that Minnesota likes Hendon Hooker. Will Levis I've seen in multiple mock drafts. In fact, we did a mock draft last week where Will Levis wasn't even drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
I think it is. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee 100% it's going to happen, but I think there is a shot that it happens. And the reason why I say Tampa Bay as well, Tampa Bay is one of those teams that I think might go after a quarterback, but it's just a matter of if they do, who is it?
Yeah, and those are the teams you got to watch for. Like a Tampa Bay, a Minnesota,
a Tennessee. Could Tennessee be one of those teams that shocks us with a quarterback at 11? Or do they go with, say, an offensive tackle at 11, trade back into the first round to get a quarterback?
I think Tennessee might trade up to 3 with Arizona. I think that's a possibility for sure.
Now, for Arizona, I'm wondering, it's like, do you want to go after arguably the best defensive player in this draft class? Arguably maybe the best player in this class? Or do you look at it and invest in future drafts?
I'd say you drop 8 spots and reload.
Because you're going to get next year's. You're going to get Tennessee's next year's first.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, with Tennessee, how they are. I mean, I think we're kind of just waiting. I mean, who knows? I think we're kind of just waiting for Derrick Henry to kind of fall off a little bit. Say you're Arizona and you suck again next year. I think Arizona has a very good shot of getting the number 1 pick next year, especially with Kyler Murray probably missing half the year, more than half the year.
I think there's a good shot he doesn't play at all, especially if they're not that good next year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I could definitely see that too. So say they end up with the first pick, and say Tennessee ends up not being that good too, and say they're 11 again. I mean, you get the first and the 11th pick. I mean, that's awesome. So
we shall see. Well, let's take a look at this. So with the first overall pick, I'm assuming this is going to be one of the 2 quarterbacks with Carolina, and he goes with CJ Stroud here. So not a surprise. You'll hear some repeated stuff from me, but you'll hear new stuff from Hunter. I don't know about you, but it just feels like C.J. Stroud just fits Carolina, and it just seems like Bryce Young is a Houston Texans style quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. No surprise with C.J. Stroud going here, and I expect to see Bryce Young going next.
Yeah, and obviously you attending the Ohio State University as well, so obviously you have some bias in there, and obviously there you go. Number 2, Bryce Young going to the Houston Texans is not a surprise.
Bias? What are you talking about, Jeff? I show no bias at all.
And I'm skinny.
I don't show any bias. Me thinking Jalen Carter's going to fall to the Browns at 74 is not bias.
This is why I love you. But yeah, they go out. They went out, got Robert Woods. Now they did go and lose Brandon Cooks, but in terms of like their wide receivers, they need to add. I'm wondering for them at number 12. I think yes, you go and get your quarterback of the future. I got a feeling they would maybe want to go after a wide receiver at pick 12, depending on if any of the wide receivers are gone.
Yeah, I think especially, even before they traded Brandon Cooks, I think this was kind of a general consensus. But now that you traded Brandon Cooks, I mean, you kind of have to, I feel like. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Oh, we have a trade. So it's the Colts trading up one spot to go and get Anthony Richardson. So 3 straight quarterbacks off the board. So now, if you're a team that doesn't need a quarterback, you are thinking you are happy, because what does that mean? A good football player has a better shot of going to you. But this is interesting. The Colts trading up one spot. So what this to me feels like is they feel like there's another team, like you just mentioned, Tennessee. They might trade up to number 3. They're saying, no. This is it. Because you know what this is? This is exactly what the Chicago Bears did in 2017 when they went to go and get Mitch Trubisky. They traded up one spot with San Francisco, and they got their guy because they was afraid someone was going to trade up and get their guy. They go and get their guy.
They sure got their guy all right.
Yeah. Now, Anthony Richardson is the most polarizing, I think, outside of Jalen Carter. Anthony Richardson is the most polarizing prospect in this class.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he could be a mixture, like he could be a Cam Newton. He can be, like, he has the mobility of a Lamar Jackson. It's just, obviously you have the issues with the accuracy, but that can be something that you can improve on in the NFL. That is something that, you can fix. Now, I don't personally believe that he's going to be ready day one, but I like the fact that the Colts go and get him, because he is a guy that you can put a package out there for him. You could get him on the field right away. I just don't think he's ready to be the starting quarterback week 1.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I mean, he's one of the more polarizing figures. I mean, he's athletically, he's as gifted as anybody.
Oh, yeah.
And physically as well. It's going to just be able to see. I think this is the right pick for Indianapolis. I think you go Anthony Richardson here. I think he's going to be a stud. I really do.
I know we have another friend of ours who thinks he's going to be an absolute bust. But that's how it kind of is. He's a boom or but, like, literally in my draft notes for him, in my profile of him, I literally have him as a boom or bust. He is.
Yeah. No, he definitely is the definition of boom or bust.
So we shall see. Number 4. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you're still able to get the guy that you wanted, and you were able to get additional picks. Arizona, you love that for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, you definitely. I mean, getting Will Anderson here, especially like it says in the article right there, when both your edge rushers, are gone, and you need to. I mean, Will Anderson, I think, is going to be a generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this works out perfectly for Arizona. This is another scenario that could benefit them very, very well.
They were a team that was bottom 4th in sacks last year, and you lose Zach Allen and J.J. Watt, Yeah, that smells like you need an edge rusher badly.
All right, Jeff. I'm tired of this. I'm just ready for the part of the mock draft where the Cleveland Browns trade up into the top 10.
Yeah, well, I guess you'll keep on dreaming. Number 5, the Seattle Seahawks. They go after Jalen Carter. Now, this is not a shocker to me whatsoever. And I've said this on numerous occasions. There are teams that their head coaches that are willing to take on problem childs. Pete Carroll is definitely one of those head coaches. He is not afraid to take on a character child, and this helps them out tremendously.
Well, that's the thing too. When when you're a team like Seattle, and I think Jalen Carter is arguably the best player in this draft.
He's the best defensive tackle prospect since Aaron Donald. Saying it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Jalen Carter is also another. I know we're throwing the term generational out there, but I think he's also another generational prospect. And I think if you're Seattle, I think this is the right pick here. Sure, maybe his legal troubles, something to look into. But I mean, I think this is, best player available, and arguably getting the best player in the draft at 5 for a playoff team is very good.
Yeah. To me, he kind of reminds me of Quinnen Williams.
Okay, yeah, no, I like that comp.
And then obviously you mentioned here Tyree Wilson. That's another guy that we're really going to be looking at here. They can't go wrong with either or. They need help on that defensive line. It's just a matter of who.
Yes, they do.
And so, yeah, I mean, now they did go out and get Draymond Jones. So, I mean, but we'll see. But like we mentioned, Pete Carroll will not be afraid to take Jalen Carter on. Number 6, the Detroit Lions, they go and get Tyree Wilson, defensive end from Texas Tech. So, a lot of these mock drafts, we were used to seeing Devin Witherspoon coming in here. Now that is not the case. Instead, they go after a defensive end. Now, I'm okay with this for the simple fact that it drops a corner down to us, so I like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need help. I love having the idea of having 2 bookends opposite of each other. You had Aiden Hutchinson last year. You drafted him last year. Now you go and get Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson, he's a guy that now he was dealing with it. He ended last season with the injury. We all know that. But why not? I mean, their defense was god-awful. God-awful. Dead last in total defense. 30th against the pass. 29th against the run. They were 20th in sacks. They were 30th on third down. You need help everywhere on defense. I don't care what position you get, I was okay with for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too. Like you said, I mean, the defense was abysmal, and like you said, a lot of us had a corner going here at 6 in our mock drafts. But again, getting Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, I mean, those are 2 underrated corners that I think could be very good for this team. And then obviously C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is one of the better safeties in the NFL. I mean, they boosted their secondary
tremendously.
A lot. It is very good. I think, Cam Sutton, I do like Cam Sutton. Obviously, he made the right choice by leaving whatever shit team he was on before.
Who?
Cam Sutton.
Yeah. The team that beat you in week 18? Beat your quarterback? Badly?
That didn't count.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I like the move for Detroit. Obviously, stay on that side of the ball. The Aiden Hutchinson and Tyree Wilson could be very fun.
Oh, yeah. Tyree Wilson, to me, I see a little bit of Carlos Dunlap in him, but I also see a little bit of Montez Sweat in him.
Yeah, I like Montez Sweat.
All right, so number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders, they go after Devin Witherspoon, corner from Las Vegas. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, Jared is not here to defend himself, but I know he will be watching when this goes live.
Yeah.
He believes that the Raiders still will go after have a good shot to going after a quarterback here at pick 7. I don't think so. I think it wouldn't be smart.
I don't think so either. I think
Thank you.
no, I don't think so. Especially getting Jimmy G now. No, I think what they'll do is I think they'll ride with Jimmy G next year. Jimmy G's their starter next year regardless. I think, anyways. Now here's the thing: you ask yourself if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you go, okay, do we draft, say, Will Levis here at 7, or do we maybe be bad enough next year till we get like a Drake May or Caleb Williams? You know?
See, here's where I don't like about that. The contract that you got Jimmy G for, you got him for 3 years, $72 million. That's 20-something million a year. For a starting quarterback, that is, you want to talk about value. That's the kind of contract that Kirk Cousins got in 2018.
Yeah, but there was his contract was set up weird, where he doesn't get like as much guaranteed money, and his contract has like an out after year 2 or something like that.
But here's my thing. Josh McDaniels might be, like, if he doesn't have a good year, I think there's a good shot he's out.
Yeah.
You have the money that you have with the contract of Jimmy Garoppolo. You still have Devontae Adams, who is one of the best receivers in the National Football League. Yes, you traded away Darren Waller. However, if I'm Las Vegas, I'm doing everything I can to win this year, next year. Because you look at the division where that arguably, like, I mean, you have Kansas City, reigning defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
LA Chargers, they just find a way to charger it up, but they're still going to be a very good football team. The Denver Broncos, if Russell Wilson could get his head out of his ass, and you have Sean Payton now as your head coach. We'll see what they do with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. For now, if I'm them, I'm trying to keep them.
Yeah.
Why not try to go out and win when you're in a position where you're not paying your quarterback a whole lot of money?
No, that's true.
That's where I don't like. So you go and get Devin Witherspoon, and you go and add to your team that will help you win this year, next year, instead of waiting for a guy that's going to develop, and take a year or 2. I don't like that. So I'm happy that you're with me on this. But yeah, Jarrett's not here to defend himself, so I won't go too crazy on it. But overall, I like this pickup for them because this was one of their needs. Now, they needed an edge rusher. If Tyree Wilson was here, I definitely think they would go after him. I still think that there's a shot they would go after maybe an offensive tackle. I think there's a shot with that. They need a tight end too early, way too early for a tight end. So if you're not going to go, if there's not an edge guy there, maybe you can go with the corner. Or if you want to go with one of the offensive tackles, I think that's in play as well. So, but either or, you get the pick of the litter.
Yeah. No, I agree. Everything you just said.
So, number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They go after Christian Gonzalez, corner from Oregon. I like this pickup for them because now they did go and get Mike Hughes, but you lost a couple corners last year, or you lost Mike Ford. Now he was more of like a special teams guy. You lose Isaiah Oliver to San Francisco. You lose a couple corners. You look at that division where Carolina's they're going to have their quarterback of the future. The Saints have Derek Carr. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as of right now, have Baker, Reagan, Mayfield, who you know all about. Why not go after a corner here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
they only had 10 interceptions last year. That was good for 24th. They were 31st on third down. They were 23rd in points allowed. They were 25th in passing defense. They were 27th in total defense. Screams defense.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at this Atlanta Falcons team, I mean, like the article says, I mean, just beefing up their secondary. I mean, A.J. Terrell is one of the better corners in the NFL. They just signed Jesse Bates. Getting Christian Gonzalez, I mean, you're absolutely, loading up that secondary. And like you said, when you look at the other quarterbacks in this division, with their high tendencies to throw interceptions. Um, I think this would be a right move, and it's kind of a perfect situation, I think, for Christian Gonzalez to develop in, and turn into. I think Christian Gonzalez is going to be a very good football player.
Oh, I love Christian Gonzalez.
So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I love me some Christian Gonzalez, and I hate for the fact that he won't be there for the Steelers, but you know what? Whatever.
Good.
Screw you. Number 9, the Chicago Bears. They go after Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle / guard for from Northwestern, going number 9 to the Chicago Bears here. And why not at this point? You were able to get a whole bunch of you were able to get some extra picks in future drafts and in this draft. You want to help out your offensive line as much as you can. You want to protect Justin Fields as much as you can. So I have zero issues with this.
Yeah, no.
And on top of that, you lost Riley Reef as well.
No, I 100% feel the same way. I think when you look at this, I think from, a standpoint of, like you said, you got to protect Justin Fields in any way you can. So yeah, this is the right move. I think a lot of people here kind of want Jackson Smith-Njigba. And originally this is where I had him mocked too.
Which, by the way, our mock draft show is 2 weeks from me and Hunter, 2 weeks from today, from you guys, 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah, so I think Jackson Smith-Njigba was my pick, but kind of looking at it now, I'm like, Peter Skoronski would be a very nice pick for the Bears. And yeah.
Yeah, the whole JSN thing, I don't know. I just wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy that at all. So, yeah. All right, number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles, they go after Lucas Van Ness. Now, the instant thing that I see that pops up right here, I still think Texas running back Bijan Robinson would be interesting in this offense. I keep on thinking, it just keeps on drilling into my head, Bijan Robinson to Philadelphia. Now, you would love, if you're Philadelphia, you would love to get him at pick 30. Will that happen? I don't know. However, imagine Bijan Robinson, who's a guy who reminds me of Saquon Barkley and can have an Ezekiel Elliott rookie year kind of impact. I just mentioned 2 different running backs from two other NFC East teams. Philadelphia, why not go and get your guy if you're there? Now, that's one thought process. In terms of Philadelphia and going with Lucas Van Ness, I like it because they lost Javon Hargrave. They obviously have Jordan Davis, but the rest of your defensive line is old.
Yeah, no, and I think, Bijan Robinson is obviously an interesting pick here if they were to go that route, but I think it's still a little high for him. I do think Bijan is awesome, but I love Rashad Penny. I'm going to be honest with you. When he's healthy, Rashad Penny is good. And they got him on a little cheap deal. I love it. So that makes running back not as big of a need anymore. I mean, it still is a need, but not as big. And when you lose guys on your defensive line, again, like the article says, you lose Javon Hargrave. Fletcher Cox is on a 1-year deal. You're going to need to add to that D line. And Lucas Van Ness is a perfect prospect for that. So yeah, that's why for Philly, I think you go defense here, especially with how much they've lost on defense and free agency. I think you got to go defense here at 10, and maybe there at your later pick, see if if Bijan might still be there.
And by the way, the fun fact: this will be the first time a team who reached the Super Bowl the prior year will be in the top 10 of a draft. It's the first time since the 2008 New England Patriots. Fun fact.
Yeah.
That no one asked for. Number 11, the Tennessee Titans go after Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now this, on the other hand, unlike what I mentioned with Chicago, this I totally buy. Now, I like this from a simple fact perspective of it drops one of those offensive tackles I like that for the Steelers. But from Tennessee's perspective, they need a wide receiver. They lost Robert Woods. Obviously, Treylon Burks, cool. You lost A.J. Brown the prior year. I really, really like this pickup for Tennessee. Jackson Smith-Njigba, to me, reminds me, he is a safety blanket style wide receiver. And I'm going to give you a name. And I think I might have mentioned this to you before. I might have said this to you. I haven't said this to others. He kind of reminds me of Jarvis Landry. Now, he's faster than Jarvis Landry, but he's a guy that's going to play in the slot. He's going to be a good route runner. He has good hands. He's a guy that's going to be that safety blanket. He's a guy that a quarterback's going to absolutely love.
Yeah.
So, and Jarvis Landry has been very well respected in the NFL. He's led the league in receptions. He's broke records for receptions. So if you could get a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba, who, if you agree with the fact that he kind of reminds you of Jarvis Landry, why not?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said right there. And the thing is, like you said, I mean, obviously after getting rid of Robert Woods, Treylon Burks is wide receiver 1 there, and he had an up and down rookie year last year. So we're still waiting. The jury's out on him right now. But yeah, I mean, you need a wide receiver if you're Tennessee. I mean, you can only put so much on Derrick Henry, who's just getting older.
Mm-hmm.
So you need more weapons on that offense, and JSN is my wide receiver 1 in the draft. So I think it's the right move.
And now, like we mentioned earlier, could they shock us with possibly drafting a Will Levis or a Hendon Hooker here? We don't know. I mean, do they go with this pick and then trade back into the first round so they get their receiver, their possible wide receiver 1, and then go and get the quarterback of the future? Or we don't know. But Tennessee is going to be an interesting pick coming up in 2 weeks for the draft. Number 12, the Houston Texans. They go with Nolan Smith, the outside backer, the edge rusher from Georgia. So they don't go with the receiver that we talked about.
Right.
Instead, they go with a riser from the combine. Now, Nolan Smith was one of those guys who you could see maybe going in the back half of the first round. Now Nolan Smith's a guy that he's going to be a guaranteed pick in the first round with that 40 time that he had. You lose. I'm going to pronounce his the other edge rusher that they lost.
Don't talk about Okoronkwo like that.
Well, I couldn't pronounce his name, so
Well, good, Jeff. He's ours now.
Good. So that means he's going to be trash. Thank you very much for that.
Right.
Thank you very much for that. You go to Cleveland, you end up being trash. So thank you very much. But yeah, you lose him, so you need an edge rusher. They were 19th in sacks last year, 30th in total defense. So, yeah. Yeah. And he mentions, the first thing he mentions here, if Smith-Njigba is still on the board, I would have projected him with this pick. And that's like I said, we don't, if there was a receiver like a Jackson Smith-Njigba still there, I think they go with JSN there, but he's not. So they go with Nolan Smith from Houston.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's the right move here. I think, again, like the article says, if Jackson Smith-Njigba is off the board, I don't really think you need to go for wide receiver right here. I don't think any of those other wide receivers are worthy of taking at 12. That might just be me.
But, I agree with you.
But yeah, I mean, Nolan Smith. I mean, you need edge rushers. Seeing a guy like him in D'Amico Ryan's system now is going to be fun to watch. Yeah. If this pick happens. So I like this pick for the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm. Now they go and get Chase Winovich. So now that he's out of Cleveland, he's going to be good again. So we'll see with that. Number 13, the New York Jets go with Paris Johnson. So, will this be the New York Jets pick or will this be the Green Bay Packers pick? We'll find out. But
it'll be the Jets pick.
Okay. So, in this case, they go with, in my opinion, and this has zero bias to this, offensive tackle 1.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you.
Well, you have bias because you go to Ohio State. I don't have bias.
But you're also a diehard Ohio State fan.
But you attend the Ohio State.
That has nothing to do with
That
it.
has everything to do with it.
Not really.
It does.
Just because I go here and I've seen him on campus doesn't mean anything. Like, I actually, about a month ago, I did see Paris Johnson on campus. And I should have walked up to him and I said, "You are a New York Jet." Now, he would have looked at me like I was crazy, but I might have been right.
No, he would have probably said, "We'll see what happens."
Yeah.
That's exactly what he would have said.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, acting like we're gonna act like Aaron Rodgers is. We all know Aaron Rodgers is gonna end up being a New York Jet. So when you have a 39-year-old quarterback, yeah, you need to go. And Dwayne Brown, let's not forget about Dwayne Brown, who is their starting left tackle, who's about 5,000 years old.
Right.
I mean, the dude, I feel like was an offensive tackle when you were in diapers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I know Mekhi Becton, he's right tackle and all that. I do like the fact that he's trying to lose some weight. So you like to see that out of him, as he just wants to switch colors on us, go fucking evil on us. He wants to go. So what? You just going down a whole rainbow of colors?
Yeah, I have my app right here.
Oh God.
I'll go back to white.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's gonna be between him or Broderick Jones, whoever they like more. And so yeah, in terms of the position, it's their biggest need. So yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Number 14, we have a trade. So it is the trade of Tom Brady.
Jeff, I'm just saying, if this is Hendon Hooker, my iPad is getting thrown out the window right now.
No, neither of us have seen this. We don't know what's about to happen.
You haven't seen it?
No, I have not.
All right, let's see.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so you you guys would have witnessed a whole iPad just flying out the window. Okay, so they do go with Will Levis here. Okay. Now, that's gonna be a fun quarterback room where you have Will Levis, Baker Mayfield, and Kyle Trask. That is a interesting quarterback room to say the least. And like I mentioned earlier, when it goes back to the whole Hendon Hooker thing, this was the team that I was going to be curious about the most outside of Minnesota, because I thought Minnesota would be a team that would go after Hendon Hooker. Now, Tampa Bay, they trade up. Why they trade up, I'm a little curious about. Because is there a team that they feel like is going to trade up ahead of them? Like, I mean, are they afraid of like a Tennessee? I mean, now don't get me wrong. Bill Belichick trading down in a draft is, that's the most unshocking thing in the world.
Right.
But I'm curious as to why Tampa Bay would want to trade up for this.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Unless they truly are afraid that Tennessee.
Look, man, if they think Will Levis is going to be the answer, then go for it. But at the same time, I don't know. I think at this point it'd just be best. Obviously you sign Baker Mayfield to a 1-year deal.
Which I am now officially a Baker, bro.
Well, okay. I think you let Baker and Kyle Trask battle it out in camp. I think Baker will obviously win that. I think you just let Baker Mayfield start next year. Baker Mayfield is a serviceable NFL quarterback. We've seen that. I mean, obviously, I personally have seen him at the highest of highs and seen him at the lowest of lows. From week to week, you don't know what Baker you're going to get, because here's the thing with Baker Mayfield. His bad is very bad, but his good can be really good. So
basically what you're saying is he could either be week 1 in 2021 against Kansas City, or he could be Christmas Day against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or he could also look like what he did at week 16 again, or week 16 or week 17 against the Steelers on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, or he can look like he did.
I knew this was coming.
Week 6 against Cincinnati. In 2020, when he had that unbelievable 20 of 21 performance against the Bengals.
I was with you.
Or he could look like he did in the 2021 AFC wild card round against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh.
What's ironic is that is totally getting edited out.
But no, in all honesty, I think you just let Baker perform for a year and just see what happens. So
yeah, I'm a little. This is the first kind of like eye popper for me in terms of picks. Number 15, the Green Bay Packers. They go after Miles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson. Now they need an edge rusher. Obviously, I think we're all kind of assuming I feel like they would need some sort of help in terms of a pass catcher. Whether it is a wide receiver or more likely a tight end.
Yeah.
But the more it feels like they're not going to end up going with a tight end here.
Yeah, no, I think when you're a team like Green Bay that kind of has more necessary needs than a tight end.
Although to me, that's one of their top 2 biggest needs.
Well, it is one of their biggest needs, but I don't think at 15 that's the answer, especially I think when you're about to trade your franchise quarterback. I think DM Miles Murphy here is a right choice. Sure, you're gonna need some receivers. You're gonna need a tight end. But this tight end class is deep. I do like this tight end class. Receiver, again, I just don't think any of those receivers are top 15 worthy besides Najigba. And again, that's just me, but I'm just not seeing it right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what Green Bay does. Number 16, the Washington Commanders. Okay. So they go with Joey Porter Jr. Now, this is a situation that we've seen a whole lot more. And they were one of those teams that they were 28th in interceptions last year. They only had 9 interceptions a year ago. They could go with either... I mean, this is probably the pick that I see them going with the most out of the remaining picks. So, I mean, I like this. Now, this is where Steeler fans start to, like, around this time, like, after Green Bay, you realize you see there's an offensive tackle on the board. You also see that there's Joey Porter Jr. there, and you're like, oh, boy, here we go. Are we going to get Joey Porter Jr., who is a very big mixed bag, or do you go and get the offensive tackle? It's like one of those situations where it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Joey Porter Jr. is the right pick here. Joey Porter Jr. is going to be a stud.
And I agree. Now, a lot of Steeler fans, like I saw someone post a video meme today, and it was like with the 17th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Joey Porter Jr., and it's this dude shooting his TV. Or it was Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter. That's crazy.
And, yeah. Now, we'll see. Oh, boy, here we go. With the 17th pick. Don't mess this up for me. Do not mess this up for me. The Pittsburgh Steelers select
a kicker. Darn it. Roger Jones. It's a nice pick.
Yes. Thank you.
I will say though, as much as I hate on you guys, you know, and stuff like that, the Isaac Samalo, that was a very, very underrated and a very, very nice pickup.
That happened on like a Saturday night at like midnight.
Yeah, I remember when it happened. I remember I got the notification. And I was like, oh.
And I was ecstatic.
As you should be.
Because now, in this case, your offensive line is now Broderick Jones, Isaac Sumalau, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Chuksa Okorafor.
Yeah. I mean,
this is going to be my reaction on draft night. You will be there with me. Your little brother Parker, who is also going to be a part of our draft show, he's going to witness my reaction as well. And you don't realize how excited and how happy I will be when Broderick Jones becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And it's also going to be hell, and I mean hell, for Miles Garrett.
Oh, geez, don't start. So, the Cavs B team is beating Orlando by 20 right now.
Hey, Jared, hold this L.
Dude, I keep looking up, and I don't get what I'm watching. Like, Chetty's got 16, Danny Green's got 15, Isaiah Mobley has 11. Like, we're putting arguably our second best player's younger brother on you. That's like, hey, that's like the draft show. That's like me getting Parker to whoop your ass.
Well, first off, that ain't happening, because you can't even whoop me. Again, this is what you get with a podcast that involves me and Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Number 18, we'll move on to, hello, Detroit.
Oh, hold on. Whoa.
Hello.
Okay, this is a different one.
Now, here's what's interesting, because they got David Montgomery. Now you add Bijan Robinson.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I feel like I would rather of them maybe go with someone else on defense.
Yeah, I agree. You don't need DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, and Bijan Robinson all together. If they wouldn't have signed David Montgomery, I would be all for this pick. But
now I'm wondering in this case. So they went after a defensive end. They went with a defensive end, if I'm not mistaken, or an edge rusher at 6. Now I'm curious. Now I got to go back and look. Okay, yeah. So they went with Tyree Wilson. So you get a pass rusher at 6. Now you have 18. I'm kind of firm on the fact that I think they need to go double dipping on defense. Now,
yeah,
this is where someone like a Deonte Banks, I would think Deonte Banks is really a pick that I would be looking at a lot here for Detroit.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
Especially, yes, I understand you get Cam Sutton, but you also, and then you still have Jeff Okudah. I understand that he could be a little bit of a mixed bag. You lose Mike Hughes. You lose Armani Away, whatever, from the Giants. I apologize. I just butchered that name hard.
That was a good signing by the Giants.
Yes. I just feel like this is where like a corner would come into play.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this is like probably the second kind of Dwayne The Rock Johnson eyebrow pick that I have. Number 19, the New England Patriots. They go after Darnell Wright. Now, they go after a right tackle here. Isaiah Wynn, he mentions, is still unsigned, which Jared is not here. By the way, I've been having this running gag with him every single week about either Taylor Lewan or Isaiah Wynn coming to Pittsburgh just to mess with him. It has been great.
I've seen the Taylor Lewan one.
Yeah, Isaiah Wynn is just more of really just to mess with him, but Taylor Lewan kind of like gets into the soul of Jared, and I like to mess with him here. Now, here's my question. And now this is where I will totally say that there might be a little bit of bias in me in this. Didn't I mention to you before, it was either on the mock draft show and I've definitely have said this to you off air. Wouldn't the most New England thing be for them to draft like DeJuan Jones in the first round?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they go with Darnell Wright. I still got this gut feeling this guy end up being a DeJuan Jones. I just got that feeling.
It could be. I like DeJuan Jones. I do. I mean, obviously, I'm biased because I go to Ohio State, but I do like DeJuan Jones.
So, but in terms of the pick here, I like it. Now, when it comes to New England, they need a receiver badly. Now they got Juju, but Juju is Juju. Let's be honest here.
Right.
Now he mentioned Zay Flowers possibly here. This is
like
where
Zay Flowers.
possibly Jordan Addison could come into play. One of those two guys. So if it's not an offensive tackle, it's gonna be. I would think it's one. If it's not an offensive tackle, aka Darnell Wright or DeJuan Jones, it's probably either Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I agree.
Number 20, the Seattle Seahawks. They go after Zay Flowers. Okay.
I like that.
I like that too. I really do like that for him because why not? And you know what's ironic to me? You have Tyler Lockett. Zay Flowers kind of reminds me of Tyler Lockett. And Tyler Lockett is one of those. He's a very reliable receiver.
Reliable and heavily underrated for years.
And he's a guy that's going to be a chain mover. He's a guy that he's a quarterback's best friend. And why not give that to Geno Smith?
Yeah. No, agreed.
So I like this pickup a lot. Now, see here what we have going on here. He says, I also suspect it would give Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, they would give Hendon Hooker a long look here. I'm in the same boat as I felt with Vegas. Why would you commit that much money to Geno Smith if you're just going to go after a Hendon Hooker?
No, you're absolutely right.
So, I don't know. That whole, unless they're just trying to push stories or something, or it could be smokescreen for all we know. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. No.
Number 21, the LA Chargers, they go after Kalijah Kancey.
Now,
I like this format a lot. Now, the last mock draft we looked at, they had Bijan Robinson going here, and I'm like, they have bigger needs than that. Yes, Bijan Robinson would be nice because Austin Eckler wants out because he wants to get paid, but they need help on that defense badly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I don't know. If Eckler does leave, I wouldn't be mad with Bijan at all, though.
I just more of feel like
they have.
I really like this Kalijah Kancey pick here. I like that pickup a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's one of their top biggest needs.
No, that's fair. Absolutely.
Now, Quentin Johnston is a possibility. I don't see more of Jordan Addison. I feel like if they were going to go with a receiver here, it would be Quentin Johnston. But I liked Kalijah Kancey over both of those guys.
Yeah.
And speaking of the devil.
Yep.
We have Baltimore going with Quentin Johnston. Now, I guess the first question, and we'll see, maybe we'll get kicked out of a press conference. Hey, Baltimore, you can't kick us out of a press conference, so, go screw yourself, whoever your PR guy is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Who's their quarterback going to be? Wait a minute. How much do you think there would be a shot they would shock us with a quarterback here? Do you think they would go after Hendon Hooker here?
No.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Throw that into the wind.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's
Okay.
any way.
Because, I mean, and that's a question you kind of have to ask because you got to figure out, okay, who's the quarterback going to be? Who's going to be throwing him the football? Now, in terms of it's weird that they actually go with a bigger receiver like Quinn Johnston because it seems like they just love the smaller receivers. Where in this case, it's like, okay, well, this is where Zay Flowers, if he was available, but in this mock draft, he's not. Or Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison feels like more of a fit because that's the kind of what they like. Now they go and get Nelson Aguilar. It's Nelson Aguilar. You get him for a year. That ain't forever. So now we'll see what happens with Todd Monken. Now you have some experience with a Todd Monken ran offense.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, this Baltimore pick is.
They're gonna pick Stetson Bennett at 22.
I don't even know what would happen.
That would probably be the biggest what the hell move of all time.
That would be Oh, okay. All right. Minnesota. Here we go. And here we go. So I got part of my thinking right. Obviously, it was not before Will Levis, but they go with the quarterback who will replace Kirk Cousins.
I like Hendon Hooker. I do. I mean, again, physically, he is very gifted. Of course, it sucks. He's coming off, the ACL tear. But I mean, obviously college doesn't always translate to the NFL. But I mean, before he got hurt last year, he was arguably the best quarterback in college football. He was tremendous for that Tennessee team. I do like Hendon Hooker, and to be honest with you, I don't dislike this at all for Minnesota. Could they maybe go Jordan Addison here? Get another receiver after losing Adam Thielen? I think that is a possibility. I don't know. I don't see them going Hooker here. It would be interesting. I could see them maybe going with him in the second round, but I don't know.
I also think in terms of a need, corner.
No, absolutely.
Corner. Deontay Banks, Cam Smith, Forbes.
Yeah, and then they lost Pat Pete to some trash-ass team.
Here we go. They lost Cameron Dantzler, Patrick Peterson, Duke Shelley, and Shandon Sullivan, but he's a guy who's also not signed yet. But yeah, corner. If they're not, but we all know how this goes.
Right.
And by the way, they have drafted 4 corners since 2015. So in a decade, they will be, if they go with a corner here, it will be their 5th corner in a decade. Number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars go with Dalton Kincaid. Now this pick is interesting. I like this pickup for him because while yes, you franchise tag Evan Ingram, Dalton Kincaid is a beast. He reminds me of Dalton Schultz.
No, Dalton Kincaid is a beast. And I don't know, Michael Mayer. I like Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer Michael Mayer to me, kind of like I mentioned to you before, kind of reminds me of like that Jason Witten, like Keith Miller, where he's a guy that can block and can run. But Dalton Kincaid is more of that receiver kind of tight end.
And that fits for Trevor Lawrence and that Jacksonville offense. So yeah, Kincaid, as a fit is right probably. So
I like this pickup for him. All right, number 25, the New York Giants. They go after Emmanuel Forbes. Now this is interesting because they go with a corner here. I kind of feel like this is where like a Osiris Torrance. I think that's where he would come into play here.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I think again, I kind of like no. Now that I think about it, I was gonna say receiver, but I mean they got.
No, well, you know what? I'm glad that you said that because I was just looking at this. They've signed 4 receivers, and 3 of them are on 1-year deals. Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Sterling Shepard. Then you get Darius Slayton on a 2-year deal. All those guys are forever. I still wouldn't put it past the Giants to take a receiver.
Yeah, especially like you said, 3 guys on 1-year deals. I mean, it's definitely something you have to look into.
So it's like a mixture of, do you want to improve your defense like they do here with Emmanuel Forbes, or do you go with a guy to help protect your new big investment in Daniel Jones, or do you give a guy someone else to throw to who will be there for more than 1 year, unless your name was Kadarius Toney? And I say that because I know that was your boy in that draft.
Love me some Kadarius Toney.
So that's kind of where things are at when it comes to the Giants. Number 26, the Dallas Cowboys. Hello. So they said, we loved Jason Witten for so long that we kind of want him again. So we'll get him in Michael Mayer.
Yeah, especially after losing out on Dalton Schultz. I mean, I think, the tight end, good move here.
Now, they're like a mixed bag, too, of like, where can they go? They could go in a multitude of positions. Do they want to help out their defensive line? Do they want to help with their offensive line? Do they want to? I mean, it wouldn't be. It would have, like, Dallas is one of those teams where it's like, it wouldn't shock me if they went with Jahmyr Gibbs for all we know. I mean,
you never know too, and running back might be the choice here after cutting Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard broke his leg in the last game of the year, and on top of
that, you tagged him.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of uncertainty there at the running back position for Dallas. So I think once Tony Pollard gets healthy, he'll be just fine because of how explosive and how good he is. But it's something to think about.
It's like when I was trying to teach you that Tony Pollard was better than Ezekiel Elliott, but
Don't start, because I have been preaching that for so long. I think I was on that train before it was even like a big thing.
I think you were a hype beast.
Here you go. At least I'm not like Justin, who still to this day thinks that Ezekiel Elliott's better than Tony Pollard, even though he got cut.
Oh, here we go. Number 27, the Buffalo Bills, they go with Jordan Addison.
Oh, I like that.
To me, you know what this tells me?
What does it tell you, Jeffy?
It tells me that not only we know that they need a receiver, but this also tells me that for some ungodly reason, this tells me that maybe this is going to be the final year of Stephon Diggs in Buffalo.
It might be. It absolutely might be. But I think this is more about getting Josh Allen weapons. Because, I mean, let's be honest here.
They're looking at it from multiple angles.
Gabe Davis is not a number 2 wide receiver. He doesn't consistently produce enough to be a wide receiver too. So I think, I like Jordan Addison here behind Stephon Diggs and giving Josh Allen another weapon.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, for some ungodly reason, it makes me feel like Stephon Diggs is getting a little irritated.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, we'll see. Number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals, they go with Deonte Banks, the corner from Maryland. Now, to me, this feels like, okay, 2 tight ends came off the board. They don't know if whether Luke Musgrave or Darnell Washington is the guy that they want to go after because they really desperately need a tight end. But they go with probably their next biggest need, which is a corner. You get Sidney Jones. You have him for a year, whatever. But they need help on that defense because...
Yeah.
I mean, Eli Apple. He's a free agent, but really?
Go.
OH. Yeah.
I
Yeah, to me, this just kind of feels like a domino effect of, okay, there's 2 tight ends that came off. They don't feel like they want to go after the other 2, so we'll go with our next biggest need, and they go with the best player available at that need. That's kind of where I take from this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's the thing: I don't think Irv Smith is an underrated tight end to me. I don't think he's obviously one of them top of the line guys, but he's a serviceable guy. So I don't think you necessarily have to go for a tight end here. Again, like the article says, you lose Jesse Bates. Chidobe Awuzie is, only has 1 year left. Eli Apple is still unsigned. There's a lot of questions in that secondary that need addressed. And like you said, I think you go for, best player at the position you need the most. So I think you go to Deontay Banks here.
Yep. Number 29, the New Orleans Saints. They go after. I'm not even gonna try.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you take it away because it seems like you have something to say about this.
Adetomawa Adebawore.
We shall see.
I know that's got to be his last name is Adebawore.
This is one of those, like, New Orleans is one of those teams where it's like, you don't know what the hell they're going to do.
You never do.
And it's like, cool. You add to your offense. You need to help your new defensive coordinator and Joe Woods go. Because once again, he's now out of Cleveland, so now he will end up being good in New Orleans.
No, that's exactly what's going to happen, and I'm like totally preparing myself for it to happen. So.
But yeah, they go with an edge rusher. That's one of their biggest need. That's probably their biggest need. On that team, they lose Marcus Davenport. They lose a bunch of guys. So yeah, why not go with an edge rusher here?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's an interesting guy, but
so we'll see.
Yep.
Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. They go after Will McDonald. Now, this is a guy that it's like in some mock drafts you'll see him going in round 1, and then others you don't. So they go with Lucas Van Ness, and then they go with Will McDonald. So they double dip on defensive line. They double dip on edge rushers.
Yeah, and the thing, I mean, well, that's the thing, though. I mean, their D line is, either lost players or they're old. So you got to start stacking up on that young talent on the D line. Obviously Jordan Davis last year. Will McDonald, we'll see. But I mean, also Lucas. Who did they take? Was it Lucas Van Ness?
Lucas Van Ness, correct.
Okay. So I mean, hey, sometimes it's an interesting strategy to go to the same position and twice in the first round, but it could very well pay off for them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And last but not least, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
This better not be Quentin Johnson.
They go with Felix Adunkey Uzama. I don't think I pronounced that part right, but you know what? We'll have it correct for the draft. From Kansas State. Now, this is not necessarily a full shocker to me because they need an edge rusher. They go back-to-back years with drafting an edge guy because they drafted George Karlaftis last year. Right. And they just want to continue to add to help out Chris Jones.
Right.
So, okay, why not? Oh.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good on all that.
Which also means that Quentin Johnston. Oh wait, yeah, he did. Never mind. You said let this not be Quentin Johnston. He got drafted already, by the way.
Oh yeah, he did. Duh.
God, I'm so stupid.
Sorry, I zoned out. He went to Baltimore. I forgot I zoned out.
Jeez, you're dumb.
I did watch it.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right, so there you have it. There is obviously Todd McShay's mock draft. I get those two mixed up all the time. Okay, real quick. I'm not going to show it to you guys, but I'm just going to see who he has the Steelers taking in pick 32. And I'll just give you guys my raw reaction. He has us taking Mozzie Smith from Michigan. Okay, I like it. Let's go. But other than that, I do want to say thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, smash that like button, hit the red subscribe button, drop a comment. Again, 2 weeks out. Actually, from when you guys see it, will be less than 2 weeks out. 2 or 3 weeks out from the NFL draft. I think it's 2 weeks out from our mock draft, 3 weeks out from the NFL draft show. It's going to be an absolute banger. It's always a fun time. You get to see our honest, raw reactions. And you also get to see Good old Parker. Which, by the
Oh,
way, you
dude.
guys have not met Parker.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, just wait. It's going to be a treat. We'll just say that. But, again, thank you all for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed, smash that like button, subscribe button, drop a comment. Till then, thank you so much, Hunter, again, for coming on. And until then,
Anything for you, Jeffy.
and away we go. Have a great
Browns.
weekend. Stay safe. Peace out.
Go Browns.
And go Steelers.